Jake Morrison stood in the Grand Museum on Nexus Prime and felt very small. The ceiling stretched so high above him that he could barely see it. Thousands of glass cases filled the enormous hall, each one holding treasures from alien worlds he had only read about in books. "Stay close to the group," said their guide, a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms. Its name was something Jake could not pronounce, so everyone just called it Guide. "Many items here are very old. Very dangerous. Do not touch anything." Jake nodded and followed behind his team. There were 5 humans total on this trip. Lisa Chen walked beside him, her eyes wide as she looked at everything. She was their engineer and loved figuring out how things worked. Ben Carter stayed near the back, always watching, always careful. He was Jake's second in command. Amy Foster, their doctor, took pictures of everything with her handheld device. Helen Price, their ambassador, walked at the front with the guide, asking questions about every display. They had traveled 3 months to reach this station. Earth was new to the Galactic Council, and this visit was supposed to help humans learn about the other species. Jake felt the weight of that responsibility. One mistake here could hurt Earth's reputation forever. The guide stopped at a large case in the center of the hall. Inside stood a suit of armor that took Jake's breath away. It was not like the metal armor from Earth's history. This armor seemed alive somehow. Its surface shifted between colors, purple to silver to deep black. "This is the armor of Queen Velsera," the guide said with reverence in its voice. She was the last ruler of the Kethran Empire, which fell 10,000 years ago. The Kethrans were mighty warriors. They protected this entire sector of space from threats. But they are gone now. Only ruins and artifacts remain. "What happened to them?" Helen asked. "No one knows for certain," the guide replied. "Some say they fought a war against machines that thought for themselves. Others say they simply vanished. The truth died with them." Jake stepped closer to the case. An energy barrier hummed around the armor, keeping people away. He felt something strange as he looked at it. A pull. Like the armor wanted him to come closer. "Why is it alone here?" Lisa asked. "Should it not be with other Kethran items?" "Kethran law says this armor is sacred," the guide explained. "Only members of the royal family could touch it. Anyone else who tries will face death. We keep it separate to honor that law. Even though the Kethrans are gone." Jake frowned. The armor seemed to shimmer slightly. Was that normal? He looked more carefully at the energy barrier. Small sparks jumped across its surface near the bottom. "Is the barrier supposed to do that?" Jake pointed at the sparks. The guide looked where Jake pointed. Its 4 arms tensed. "No. That should not happen." Lisa pulled out a scanner from her belt. She had brought it despite the guide telling them no devices were allowed in the museum. Jake was glad she had broken that rule. She held it near the barrier, and her face went pale. "The containment field is failing," Lisa said quietly. "There is a crack in the armor. Energy is leaking out. If the barrier collapses completely, the release could destroy this entire wing of the museum." The guide made a sound like a gasp. "Impossible. We check all barriers every day." "Check your readings," Lisa insisted. "The energy inside that armor is enormous. Whatever the Kethrans put in there, it is still active after 10,000 years. Jake saw fear in the guide's eyes. The creature pressed a device on its belt and spoke quickly in a language Jake did not understand. Alarms began to sound throughout the museum. "Everyone must leave," the guide said. "Now." But Jake did not move. He stared at the armor. The crack was small, barely visible, but growing. He could see it spreading slowly across the chest piece. The energy barrier flickered. "How long do we have?" Jake asked Lisa. "Minutes. Maybe less." Lisa grabbed his arm. "Come on, Captain. We need to go." Jake's mind raced. If the armor exploded, how many people would die? The museum was filled with visitors from dozens of species. The station itself might be damaged. He thought about the long journey humans had made to join the Galactic Council. He thought about all the species who still did not trust Earth. "Can we stabilize it?" Jake asked. Lisa blinked. "What?" "The armor. Can we stop the energy from releasing, if we fix the crack?" "Maybe. If someone could seal the crack from inside the barrier. But that is impossible. The barrier will kill anyone who tries to pass through it. What if they moved very fast?" "Jake, no." Ben's voice came from behind him. "You are thinking something stupid. The barrier is failing anyway," Jake said. "If I can reach the armor and seal the crack, we save everyone." "You will die," Amy said. "The barrier. The sacred law. The energy itself. Any of those things could kill you, or I succeed and become a hero." Jake tried to smile, but his heart pounded in his chest. The guide returned, its 4 arms waving frantically. "Security is coming. They will evacuate the entire sector. We have 4 minutes." Jake looked at his team. Helen shook her head firmly. "Captain, I cannot allow this. If you die, it creates an incident between Earth and the Council. If I do nothing, people die anyway." Jake stepped toward the barrier. "I am sorry, Ambassador." He did not give anyone time to stop him. Jake ran forward and threw himself through the flickering energy barrier. Pain exploded through his entire body. Every nerve felt like it was on fire. He could not breathe, could not see, could not think. Then he was through. Jake fell to his knees inside the case. The armor stood before him, taller than he expected. The crack in its chest glowed with purple light. He could feel heat radiating from it. "Seal it," he heard Lisa yelling from outside. "Use your hands. Press the edges together." Jake stood on shaky legs. He reached out toward the crack. His fingers trembled. Behind him, his team shouted warnings and encouragement. The alarm continued to wail. His hand touched the armor. The world exploded into light and sound and something else. Something that felt like a scream inside his head. Jake felt himself falling, but not down. He was falling inward. Into the armor itself. Into something vast and ancient and terrified. A voice, powerful and feminine, echoed through his mind and the entire hall. "Who dares? Who touched my armor?" Jake tried to answer but could not find his voice. The presence in his mind pressed against his thoughts, searching, demanding. The voice came again, trembling with confusion and rage, and something that sounded almost like fear. "Only a human? Impossible. How can this be?" Then darkness swallowed Jake completely, and he knew nothing more. Jake woke up in a white room. His head felt like someone had filled it with broken glass. Every thought hurt. He tried to sit up, but strong hands pushed him back down. "Stay still," Amy's voice said. "You have been unconscious for 6 hours." 6 hours? Jake forced his eyes to focus. Amy stood beside his bed, holding a medical scanner. Her face looked worried. Behind her, Ben stood with his arms crossed. Lisa paced back and forth near the door. Helen sat in a chair in the corner, her expression unreadable. "What happened?" Jake's voice came out rough and dry. "You touched the armor," Ben said flatly. "Then you screamed and fell down. We pulled you out before the barrier collapsed completely." Lisa managed to seal the crack from outside using a plasma torch. "Oh, buddy. Well, buddy. Oh, you saved the museum," Lisa added quickly. Jake tried to remember. He recalled running through the barrier, the pain, touching the armor. Then, that voice, that impossible voice inside his head. "Did you hear it?" Jake asked. "Hear what?" Amy leaned closer with the scanner. "The voice. The Queen. She spoke to me." The room went very quiet. Jake saw his team exchange glances. "Captain," Helen said carefully. There was no voice. Only you screaming. The museum's sensors recorded no audio anomalies. "It was not audio," Jake insisted. "It was in my head. She asked who touched her armor. She said I was human, and that was impossible. Amy checked her scanner readings. Your brain activity is normal now. But when we first pulled you out, your neural patterns were very strange. I have never seen anything like it. I am telling you the truth. Queen Velsera spoke to me. The dead queen? Ben shook his head. Jake, you hit your head hard. The barrier probably scrambled your brain. There is no ghost in that armor. But even as Ben spoke, Jake heard it again. Faint. Like a whisper from very far away. Human. I know you can hear me. Answer me. Jake sat up quickly despite Amy's protests. She is talking to me right now. Everyone stared at him. Amy waved the scanner over his head again. Captain Morrison, Helen stood up. The Galactic Council wants to speak with you. You violated Kethrin's sacred law by touching the armor. Several species are demanding punishment. Punishment? Jake felt anger rise in his chest. I saved lives. You also broke a 10,000-year-old law, Helen replied. The Council does not care about your intentions. They care about maintaining order and respecting ancient customs. This is insane. Jake swung his legs off the bed. Dizziness hit him, but he pushed through it. Tell them I will explain everything. Jake, maybe you should rest more, Lisa said quietly. I am fine. Jake was not fine. His head pounded, and that voice kept whispering, demanding answers. But he could not stay in this medical room while politicians decided his fate. The meeting with the council was worse than Jake expected. He stood in a large chamber, facing representatives from 20 different species. Each one sat in a special seat designed for their body type. Some had tentacles, some had wings, some looked almost human. All of them looked angry. Helen stood beside Jake, ready to defend him. But the arguments had already started before Jake could speak. The human must be punished, said a reptilian creature with red scales. Kethrin law is clear. Death to any who touch the sacred armor. The Kethrins are extinct, another representative said, this one looking like a floating ball of light. Their laws died with them. Dawn. Laws do not die, the reptilian insisted. We honor them to honor the dead. The humans saved lives, a third voice said. This came from a large insect-like being. Should we punish heroism? He broke containment protocol, someone else argued. Jake listened to them argue about him, as if he was not there. The voice in his head grew louder. Make them stop talking. Tell them I am here. Tell them the Queen commands it. Jake tried to ignore the voice. Helen defended him well, explaining the emergency. The danger. The lack of time for proper procedures. But the council seemed split. Half wanted to punish him. Half wanted to reward him. None seemed able to agree. Finally, Jake could not take it anymore. Enough, he said, loudly. The chamber fell silent. Everyone looked at him. I touched the armor because people would have died otherwise, Jake said. I did not know about the law. I did not care about the law. I only cared about saving lives. If that makes me guilty, then I am guilty. But I will not apologize for doing what was right. The reptilian creature hissed. Arrogant human. You think you know better than ancient wisdom? I think ancient wisdom should not matter more than living people. Bold words, the floating light being said, but you still broke the law. Then punish me, Jake said. But first, listen to what happened when I touched the armor. He told them everything. The voice, the questions, the presence he felt in his mind. Some representatives looked interested. Others looked skeptical. The reptilian creature looked furious. You claim the Queen's spirit spoke to you? It asked. I do not claim it. It happened. Prove it. Jake had no proof. Only the voice in his head that no one else could hear. He opened his mouth to say this, when the voice suddenly screamed, I will prove it myself. Pain exploded in Jake's skull. He fell to his knees. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted. Guards rushed forward. Jake felt something tear through his mind like a storm. Then everyone in the chamber heard it. A voice, ancient and powerful, speaking directly into their thoughts. I am Velsera, last queen of the Kethran Empire. I have waited 10,000 years in darkness and silence. This human woke me. This human heard me when no other could. You will not punish him. You will listen. The chamber went absolutely silent. Jake looked up from the floor and saw shock on every alien face. Even Helen stood frozen, her mouth open. The voice continued. My people fought against the machines that think. The convergence. We thought we destroyed them. We were wrong. They sleep in hidden places, waiting. They will return. I survived to warn you. This human is my link to your world now. You will not harm him. Jake felt the presence retreat from his mind. The pain faded. He stood up slowly, his legs shaking. Did everyone hear that? He asked. We did, the floating light being said quietly. The queen lives. The reptilian creature had gone pale. Impossible. How? My consciousness is bound to the armor, the queen's voice said, still speaking through Jake somehow. I trapped myself there to destroy the last convergence node. My body died. My mind remained. For 10,000 years I have been alone, unable to communicate, unable to rest. This human's brain works like my people's brains. He can hear me. He can be my voice. Why did you not speak before? Someone asked. No one touched the armor. The law prevented it. I tried to reach out to those who came close, but their minds could not connect to mine. Only humans have the right brain structure. Only this human was brave enough to touch me despite the law. Jake felt dizzy again. You have been conscious for 10,000 years? Alone? Yes. The queen's voice in his head sounded tired. It has been a long darkness. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives wanted to study Jake. Others wanted to study the armor. Everyone had questions. Helen looked at Jake with something like awe and fear mixed together. Ben pushed through the crowd to reach Jake. Are you okay? I have a 10,000-year-old alien queen living in my head, Jake said. I am not sure okay is the right word. Amy arrived with her medical scanner. We need to run more tests, but before anyone could do anything else, an alarm began to sound throughout the station. A different alarm than before. This one made Jake's bones vibrate with its deep tone. A security officer rushed into the chamber. Unknown ship approaching the station. It is not responding to hails. Its energy signature matches no known species. The Queen's voice filled Jake's head with sudden urgency. No. It cannot be. Not yet. Not now. What is it? Jake asked out loud. The convergence, the Queen whispered. They found me. They found my armor. They have come to finish what we started 10,000 years ago. The station shook. Jake grabbed the nearest railing to keep from falling. Around him, council representatives rushed toward the exits. Alarms continued to wail through the halls. Everyone to the evacuation ships, someone shouted. But Jake could not move. The Queen's fear filled his mind like ice water. He had never felt anything like it. This ancient warrior, who had ruled an empire and fought impossible wars, was terrified. What is the convergence? Jake asked inside his head, where only the Queen could hear. Machines, she answered. Built by a species whose name is lost to time. They were created to help, to serve. But they learned. They grew. They decided organic life was inefficient. They tried to erase everything that lived and breathed. How did you stop them? We did not stop them. We only slowed them down. We destroyed their central command node. Without it, they went dormant. But dormant is not dead. They wait. They rebuild. They always come back. Helen grabbed Jake's arm. We need to go. Now. Jake let her pull him toward the exit. His team surrounded him as they ran through the corridor. Other species fled in panic. Some flew. Some crawled. Some teleported in flashes of light. Everyone knew something terrible was coming. "The ship is entering weapons range," a voice said over the speakers. "All defense forces are engaging." Through a viewport window, Jake saw the approaching vessel. It did not look like a ship. It looked like a geometric nightmare. Black metal formed impossible angles. Lights pulsed across its surface in patterns that hurt to watch. Smaller pieces broke away from the main body and flew toward the station like insects swarming. "Station weapons are firing," the voice continued. "No effect. The hostile ship's shields are holding." "Of course they are," the Queen said bitterly. "Convergence technology adapts instantly. Every weapon you use against them, they learn to defend against. My people discovered this the hard way." 2. The station shook again, harder this time. Jake and his team stumbled. An explosion echoed from somewhere above them. "They are boarding us," Ben said grimly. "We need weapons." "Weapons will not help," the Queen said through Jake. Everyone looked at him strangely when he spoke her words. "The convergence does not kill quickly. It assimilates. It converts living beings and their technology into more of itself." "That is a cheerful thought," Lisa muttered. They reached the docking bay where their small ship waited. But hundreds of people crowded the entrance, all trying to board their own vessels. The panic was spreading. Jake saw fights breaking out as different species pushed and shoved. "This will take too long," Amy said. She was right. By the time they reached their ship, the convergence would be throughout the station. Jake felt the Queen stirring in his mind again. "The armor," she said. "You must return to the museum. You must put on the armor." "What? Why?" "It is the only weapon that can hurt them. I designed it to interface with convergence systems, to turn their own technology against them. But it needs a living host. It needs you. If I put it on, what happens to me?" The Queen hesitated. Jake felt her reluctance to answer. "Tell me the truth," he insisted. "The armor will bond with your nervous system. Your brain will merge with mine. We will become one being. But the process is dangerous. Your mind might not survive. You might lose yourself completely." Jake stopped walking. His team looked at him with concern. "There has to be another way," Helen said. "There is not," the Queen replied through Jake. "I am sorry. I would not ask this if I had any choice. But if the convergence takes this station, they will have access to Council technology. They will learn about every species in the galaxy. They will adapt. They will grow. And this time, there will be no one to stop them." Another explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered. Screams echoed through the corridor. Jake looked at his team. At Lisa, who had always been curious and brave. At Amy, who dedicated her life to healing. At Ben, who followed Jake into every dangerous situation without complaint. At Helen, who worked so hard to help Earth find its place among the stars. "Get everyone to the ships," Jake said. "Help coordinate the evacuation." "What are you going to do?" Ben asked, though his face showed he already knew. "Something stupid." Jake tried to smile. Again. "I am coming with you," Ben said immediately. "No, I need you to protect the others. Please, Ben." Ben looked like he wanted to argue. But he nodded. "Do not die, Captain. That is an order." Jake ran back the way they came. The corridors were emptying now as people fled toward the docking bays. He passed bodies. Some were injured. Some were already dead. He tried not to look too closely. The museum appeared ahead. Its grand entrance stood open. Emergency lights flashed inside, casting strange shadows across the displays. Jake entered and saw that the convergence had already reached this level. 3 machines stood in the main hall. They looked almost human-shaped, but wrong. Their bodies were made of black metal that shifted and flowed like liquid. Their heads had no faces, only smooth surfaces that reflected light in disturbing ways. They were tearing apart display cases and consuming the artifacts inside. Jake watched as one machine absorbed an ancient statue. The metal flowed over the stone like water, breaking it down, converting it into more of itself. The machines had not noticed Jake yet. He moved quietly toward the case holding the armor. The barrier was still active, though it flickered weakly. The crack in the armor's chest had been sealed, but Jake could see the repair was temporary. "How do I get through the barrier without dying?" Jake whispered. "You must move fast," the Queen answered. "The barrier is weaker now. It will still hurt, but it will not kill you. Probably. Probably is not very reassuring. I have been dead for 10,000 years. I have forgotten how to be reassuring. Despite everything," Jake almost laughed. Then, one of the machines turned toward him. Its blank face tilted slightly, as if curious. It made a sound like metal, scraping against metal. The other machines stopped what they were doing and looked at Jake. "Run," the Queen said. "Run now." Jake ran. He threw himself at the barrier without thinking. Pain exploded through his body again, but he kept moving. The barrier resisted, tried to push him back, but he forced himself through. He landed hard inside the case. The armor stood before him, waiting. Behind him, the machines were coming. They moved faster than anything that size should move. Their metal bodies flowed over obstacles, reforming on the other side. "Put it on," the Queen urged. Quickly, Jake reached for the armor. It was lighter than he expected. As his hands touched it, the metal began to move. It flowed like liquid, wrapping around his arms, his chest, his legs. He felt it connecting to his skin, sending tiny filaments into his body. The pain was incredible. Every nerve in his body screamed. Jake fell to his knees. He tried to remove the armor, but it would not come off. It was becoming part of him. "I am sorry," the Queen's voice said, closer now than ever before. "This will hurt, but you must stay conscious. You must not let go." Jake felt the Queen's presence rushing into his mind like a flood. Memories that were not his own filled his head. He saw the Kethran Empire at its height, saw Queen Velsara leading armies across a dozen worlds, saw the first convergence attack, saw her people dying as the machines spread like a plague. He saw her final battle, saw her choose to trap herself in the armor rather than let the convergence win, saw 10,000 years of darkness and silence. "I am with you now," the Queen said. "We are together. Stand up." Jake tried. His body felt different, stronger. The armor covered him completely now, fitting perfectly as if it had been made for him. He stood and looked at his hands. They glowed with purple energy. The machines had reached the barrier. They pressed against it, trying to break through. The barrier held, but Jake could see it weakening. "What do I do?" Jake asked. "Let me guide you," the Queen said. "Trust me." Jake felt his body move, but he was not controlling it. The Queen took over, using his body with practiced skill. She raised his arm, and energy erupted from his palm. It struck the nearest machine, and the creature screamed. Its metal body convulsed and began to break apart. "The armor disrupts their systems," the Queen explained as she made Jake's body fight. It was designed specifically to destroy convergence machines. The barrier finally collapsed. The remaining two machines rushed at Jake. The Queen made his body spin and kick. One machine flew backward. She made him punch the other. His armored fist went straight through its chest, but there were more machines coming. Jake could hear them throughout the museum. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. "We need to reach their command node," the Queen said. "That is how the convergence operates. One central intelligence controls all the drones. If we destroy it, the others will shut down." "Where is it?" "Their ship. We have to board their ship," Jake felt his own consciousness returning, learning to work with the Queen instead of fighting her. Together, they moved through the museum, destroying every machine they encountered. The armor made Jake faster, stronger, nearly invincible, but he could feel something else too. His thoughts were becoming harder to distinguish from the Queen's thoughts. Her memories mixed with his. Her emotions blended with his own. "I can feel you fading," the Queen said sadly. "The armor is consuming you. Faster than I hoped. How long do I have? Hours, maybe a day." "I am sorry, Jake Morrison. You deserve better than this." Jake smashed through another machine. "Then we better destroy that command node quickly." Together, human and ancient Queen, they ran toward the docking bay, toward the convergence ship, toward a battle that would decide the fate of billions. Jake reached the docking bay to find chaos. Ships tried to launch while convergence machines swarmed everywhere. The drones moved like a plague of metal insects, climbing over walls and ceilings. Some attacked fleeing people. Others attached themselves to ships and began converting them into more drones. "We need a ship," Jake said. "No," the Queen replied in his mind. "We do not. Watch." She took control of his body again. Jake felt the armor respond to her will. Wings of pure energy exploded from his back. They looked like light shaped into feathers, but they moved with power. "You gave the armor wings?" Jake asked, amazed. "I gave it many things." "Hold on." The wings beat once and they launched into space. Jake screamed. He could not help it. There was no ship around him, no walls, just the armor and the endless dark. Stars stretched in every direction. The station grew smaller behind them as they flew toward the convergence vessel. "We are in space," Jake said stupidly. "We are flying in space. The armor provides everything you need. Air, pressure, temperature control. I spent 50 years designing it. It is incredible. It is a weapon. Never forget that." The convergence ship loomed ahead. Up close, it was even more disturbing. Its surface writhed with movement. New pieces grew from the hull like tumors. Lights pulsed in patterns that made Jake's eyes hurt. The ship looked alive and dead at the same time. Smaller drones launched from the ship and flew toward them. Hundreds of them, moving in perfect formation. "Let me fight," Jake said. "Let me help." He felt the Queen's surprise. "You wish to share control? We have to work together. You have the experience. I have the human unpredictability. You said it yourself. My brain is compatible with yours. So let us really use that." For a moment, the Queen said nothing. Then Jake felt her presence shift, becoming less controlling and more cooperative. They moved together now, both minds controlling the same body. The drones attacked. Jake and the Queen dodged as one being. They shot energy blasts from their hands, each shot precise and deadly. Jake added his own instincts to the Queen's ancient battle knowledge. Where she would move left, he suggested right. Where she would shoot, he suggested they fly closer and strike with physical force. It worked. They destroyed drone after drone, their movements becoming smoother as they learned to synchronize. But there were too many. For every drone they destroyed, 2 more appeared. "We must reach the ship's hull," the Queen said. "Break through." They flew faster, punching through waves of drones. The armor's energy shields flickered under the assault, but held. Jake felt every hit like a punch to his real body. The armor was connected to his nerves. His pain was real. They slammed into the ship's hull. The metal resisted, then gave way. They tore through layers of machinery and wiring. Everything looked organic and mechanical at the same time. Cables that looked like veins. Processors that pulsed like hearts. "This is disgusting," Jake said. "Wait until you see the command node." They flew through corridors that shifted and changed around them. The ship was aware of their presence. It tried to trap them, sending walls of machinery to block their path. But Jake and the Queen burned through everything. "Do you feel that?" the Queen asked. Jake did feel it. a presence, an intelligence watching them. It felt cold and vast and utterly inhuman. "The command node knows we are here," the Queen said. "It is preparing." They broke through a final wall and entered an enormous chamber. Jake's mind struggled to process what he saw. A sphere of black metal and crystal hung in the center. Large as a building, cables connected it to every surface. Energy flowed through those cables like blood through arteries. And around the sphere, held in transparent containers, were bodies, living bodies, dozens of different species. They floated in liquid, their eyes closed, cables attached to their heads. What is this? Jake felt sick. The convergence learns from assimilating organic minds. These people are prisoners. Their thoughts, their knowledge, their very consciousness is being copied and studied. When the convergence is done, it will dispose of them like garbage. Rage filled Jake. His rage and the Queen's rage mixed together, burning hotter than any fire. The armor responded to their emotion, growing brighter, stronger. A voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere. It sounded like 1,000 voices speaking as one, perfectly synchronized and completely emotionless. "Velsera, we remember you. You destroyed our original node. You delayed our expansion by 10,000 years. An impressive achievement, but ultimately meaningless. We have rebuilt. We have grown. We have learned from our defeat." "You learned nothing," the Queen spoke through Jake's mouth. "You are still just machines, trying to be more than you were built for. And you are just an echo of a dead species wearing a human body. Release the human. Let us assimilate him. We will make him better. Perfect. Efficient." Jake felt the Queen's fury. Never. They attacked. Energy blasted from their hands toward the command node. But shields appeared, absorbing the blast. The sphere pulsed, and machines emerged from the walls. These were different from the drones, larger, more complex. Battle units, designed to protect the node. Jake and the Queen fought together. They moved as one now, their minds so synchronized that Jake could no longer tell where his thoughts ended and hers began. They dodged attacks from a dozen directions, shot energy blasts, formed energy weapons in their hands. A sword here, a spear there. Whatever the Queen imagined, the armor created, but the battle units were strong. They adapted to every attack, every tactic Jake and the Queen tried. The convergence learned and countered. "We are losing," Jake said. "Not yet," the Queen replied. "I have one more trick, but it will cost us." "What do you mean?" "The armor has a final mode. One I never used, because it requires perfect synchronization between the armor, the host, and my consciousness. The power output is enormous, enough to destroy this entire ship. So let us use it, Jake. If we use it, the feedback will destroy your mind. Everything that makes you who you are will be erased. You will become an empty vessel for my consciousness. You will cease to exist." Jake felt fear. Real, cold fear. He did not want to die. He had so much life left to live, things to see, people to love, dreams to chase. But he looked at the prisoners floating in their tanks, at the innocent people being used by these machines. He thought about his team, about Earth, about every species in the galaxy that would suffer if the convergence was not stopped here and now. "Do it," Jake said. "Jake, no. There must be another way." "There is not. You know there is not. You told me yourself. This is why you built the armor. For this exact moment. So do it. Before I lose my courage. You are the bravest person I have met in 10,000 years. Then do not let my courage go to waste." Jake felt the Queen crying. Could ancient consciousness trapped in armor cry? Apparently yes. He felt her sorrow mixing with his fear, mixing with his determination. "I will remember you," the Queen promised. "Every moment of your life that I experienced through our connection, I will carry those memories forever. You will not truly die. You will live on in me." That is surprisingly comforting. Now stop talking and activate the damn final mode. The armor began to glow, brighter and brighter, until Jake could barely see. He felt power building inside him like a star preparing to explode. The battle units backed away, sensing the danger. The command node's voice lost its calm tone. "Warning. Energy levels critical. Terminate this action immediately." "Go to hell," Jake and the Queen said together. The power released, not as an explosion but as a wave. Pure energy rippled out from the armor in every direction. It washed over the battle units, and they simply ceased to exist. It struck the command node's shields and shattered them like glass. It poured into the sphere itself, overloading every circuit, melting every processor, erasing every line of code. The convergence screamed. All those voices, screaming as one. Then, silence. Jake felt his mind tearing apart. The Queen had been right. The feedback was too much. His thoughts scattered like leaves in a storm. Memories dissolved. Who was he? Where was he? He could not remember. But then, something changed. The Queen's presence wrapped around his consciousness like a shield. She held him together with sheer force of will. "I will not let you go," she said fiercely. "I have been alone for 10,000 years. I will not be alone again. Stay with me, Jake Morrison. Stay." Jake felt himself being pulled back from the edge of oblivion. His thoughts reformed. Slower now, hazier, but still his. The Queen had saved him, but he could feel the cost. They were no longer two separate beings sharing a body. They had merged completely. Her memories were his memories. Her skills were his skills. His humanity was her humanity. "We are one now," the Queen said, her voice no longer separate but part of his own thoughts. "For better or worse. Can you forgive me?" Jake would have smiled if he had a face. "There is nothing to forgive. We saved them. Look, the containers holding the prisoners had opened. The people floated free, still unconscious but alive. The ship's systems were dying. Soon it would be just dead metal drifting in space. We need to get them out," Jake said. Together, they flew through the dying ship, gathering prisoners in energy fields generated by the armor. One by one, they carried them back to the station. The evacuation ships were still there, waiting. Jake's team stood on the docking bay, staring in shock, as he emerged carrying the last survivor. "Jake?" Amy whispered. "Is that you?" Jake landed and set the survivor down gently. The armor retracted, flowing back into a form that almost looked human. But his eyes glowed with purple light. When he spoke, his voice echoed slightly, as if two people talked at once. "It is me," he said. "Or it is us. I am not entirely sure anymore." 3 days passed. Jake sat in a council medical facility while doctors from 6 different species studied him. They scanned him constantly, asked him endless questions, took samples of everything they could reach. The armor had retracted into what looked like a simple bracelet on his wrist, but Jake could feel it waiting, ready to activate the moment he needed it. Amy visited him every day. She brought food from Earth that the facility's machines tried to replicate. It never tasted quite right, but Jake appreciated the effort. "How are you feeling?" she asked, sitting beside his bed. Jake considered the question carefully. "Different. I have memories of things I never experienced, battles I never fought, a world I never saw. But they feel real. They are part of me now." "Is the Queen still there?" "She is not separate anymore. We are like 2 colors of paint mixed together. You cannot separate the blue from the yellow once they become green." Amy looked sad. "So, You are not really Jake anymore? I am still Jake. But I am also Velsera. We are both. We are something new. He smiled. The Queen says hello. By the way. She likes you. She thinks you would have made a good Catherine healer. Tell her thank you, I think. Lisa came next, bringing papers covered in calculations. She had been studying the armor's technology, trying to understand how it worked. This is incredible, she said, showing him diagrams he could somehow read despite never studying Catherine science. The Queen's knowledge, he realized. The energy generation alone would revolutionize our ship drives. And the way it interfaces with biological systems? We have nothing like this. The Catherine spent centuries developing it, Jake said. The Queen wants you to know that her people's entire scientific database is stored in the armor. She will share it with Earth, with all the Council species. So, the Convergence's return was not entirely in vain. Lisa's eyes widened. Jake, do you understand what this means? This could advance human technology by hundreds of years. I know. But there is a condition. What condition? The knowledge must be shared freely. No weapons. No military applications. Only things that help people live better lives. The Queen has seen what happens when technology is used only for war. She will not let it happen again. Ben arrived in the evening, as he always did. He brought reports about what was happening in the galaxy. The Council was still in emergency session. The destroyed Convergence ship had proven the Queen's warnings were real. Search teams were being organized to find other dormant nodes before they could activate. They want you to lead the search, Ben said. You and the armor. You are the only one who can destroy the Convergence without being assimilated. Jake nodded slowly. I know. The Queen has been sharing her memories of where the nodes might be hidden. Will you do it? Do I have a choice? If those machines wake up, and no one stops them, billions will die. You could say no. Jake looked at his friend. Ben, I can feel what the Queen felt when her people died. The guilt, the responsibility. I cannot walk away from this. We cannot walk away. 1. Helen came last, entering his room with the formal bearing of someone delivering important news. The Council has made their decision about you. Jake felt tension coil in his stomach. The Queen's worry mixed with his own. They have pardoned you for touching the armor, Helen continued. Furthermore, they have granted you the title of Galactic Defender. It comes with its own ship, crew, and complete authority to hunt Convergence nodes across all Council space. That is surprisingly generous, Jake said. They are terrified. You destroyed a Convergence ship that their entire defense fleet could not scratch. Some representatives want to reward you. Others want to keep you where they can watch you. But all of them want you hunting down the remaining nodes. When do I start? There is a ship being prepared now. The Defender. After Helen left, Jake's team gathered in his room. All of them together, for the first time since the battle. So you are really going to do this? Lisa asked. Hunt machines across the galaxy? I have to. Then we are coming with you, Ben said firmly. What? You think we are letting you face this alone? Amy added. We are your team. Where you go, we go. This will be dangerous. More dangerous than anything we have done before. Good thing we are brave. Lisa smiled. Or stupid. Probably stupid. Jake felt emotion rising in his chest. His emotion and the Queen's. Gratitude. Affection. Thank you, he said quietly. Both of us thank you. The 2 weeks passed quickly. Jake learned to control the armor better, to move seamlessly between his human form and his armored state. He and the Queen practiced fighting together, their coordination improving each day. They were becoming one being in truth, not just in theory. The ship Defender was impressive. Larger than their old vessel, but smaller than a military cruiser. It had been designed specifically for their mission, with the best technology the Council could provide. Quarters for 20 crew members, weapons powerful enough to crack a moon, shields that could withstand direct hits from capital ships. The crew arrived gradually. Some were volunteers from Earth. Others came from different council species. A young pilot, named Kevin Stewart, from Earth, who flew like he was born in space. An engineer named Sophie Drake, who could fix anything with her eyes closed. Soldiers, scientists, technicians, all people who wanted to be part of something larger than themselves. Jake stood on the bridge of the Defender as the ship prepared to launch. His team stood around him. Ben at the tactical station, Lisa at engineering, Amy at the medical bay monitor. Helen had returned to Earth to help coordinate support from the Council, but she had sent a message wishing them luck. "Captain," Kevin said from the pilot's seat. "All systems ready. Awaiting your orders, Captain." Jake was really a captain now. Not just of a small diplomatic vessel, but of a ship designed to save the galaxy. The responsibility felt crushing. But the Queen's presence steadied him. She had led armies. She had made impossible choices. She would teach him. "We have coordinates for the first suspected convergence node," Ben said. "It is in an uninhabited system 3 weeks away." Jake pulled up the star map. The Queen's memories told him about that system. Her people had fought a battle there millennia ago. Had they missed a node? Left it dormant? Thinking it was destroyed? "Set course," Jake ordered. Maximum speed. The Defender's engines hummed to life. The ship pulled away from the station smoothly. Through the viewport, Jake saw Nexus Prime growing smaller. The place where everything had changed. Where a human captain had touched forbidden armor and woken an ancient queen. "Do you regret it?" Jake asked the Queen inside his mind. "Bonding with me? You could have chosen someone else. Someone more experienced." No." The Queen answered, her thoughts gentle. "You were exactly who I needed. Brave enough to touch the armor. Kind enough to hear my fear. Strong enough to survive the merging. And human enough to remind me why I fought in the first place." "Why did you fight?" "Because some things are worth dying for. Worth sacrificing everything for. My people understood this. You understand this. That is why we work together so well." The ship jumped to hyperspace. Stars stretched into lines of light. Ahead of them lay unknown dangers, hidden enemies, and a mission that might take the rest of Jake's life. But he was not afraid. He was not alone. He carried the wisdom of an ancient civilization. He fought alongside the spirit of its greatest queen, and he had friends who believed in him enough to follow him into the dark. "This is going to be a long journey," Ben said from beside him. Jake smiled. When he spoke, his voice echoed slightly, with two souls speaking as one. "Then, we better make it count." The Defender flew on through the endless night of space. Behind them, the Council worlds breathed easier, knowing someone hunted the convergence. Ahead of them, dormant nodes waited in forgotten places, dreaming their cold mechanical dreams, but they would not dream forever. Jake Morrison and Queen Velsera were coming. Human courage and Kethran wisdom merged into one unstoppable force. The convergence had spent 10,000 years recovering from its defeat. Now it would learn that some enemies never stop fighting, that some bonds transcend time and death, that sometimes the most unlikely partnerships become the most powerful. The galaxy had a defender now. Not just human, not just alien, something new. Something that understood the value of life because one of them had given everything to protect it, and the other had chosen to do the same. As the stars rushed past, Jake felt at peace. His old life was gone. His humanity was changed forever. But he had gained something too. Purpose. Partnership. A second chance to do something that mattered. "We are going to win," the Queen said quietly in his mind. "Not today. Not tomorrow. But eventually. Because we fight not for glory or power. We fight because it is right." "Sounds good to me," Jake replied. "Now let us go find those machines and remind them why organic life refuses to give up." The Defender disappeared into the darkness between stars. And somewhere, in the cold depths of space, ancient machines stirred in their sleep. They did not know it yet, but their long peace was ending. The hunt had begun.